Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is present. Welcome back for a little bit more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. I want to give a special welcome to the approximately 20 people that YouTube sent a notification out to. Thank you, YouTube. You're doing a stellar job. Guys, would you take parenting advice from a cult member? Specifically, we're talking about the human trafficking cult known as Scientology. There is this really weird trend that I'm seeing of Scientologists trying to fashion themselves as some sort of life coach, family coach, parenting coach. I mean, of course, you've got Grant Cardone, who goes the business coach route, but it's very troubling to me to see Scientologists trying to act like experts and consultants in the field of family health, parenting, proper family building, when Scientology almost specializes in devaluing the family, minimizing relationships, and destroying families. The entire principle of Scientology is that we are all immortal spiritual beings that have lived 76 trillion years and are presently trapped on Earth, which is a prison planet, and the planet is a prison, our bodies are a prison, and that bodies only give birth to bodies. Thetans, Scientology calls the spirit a thetan. Thetans don't give birth to thetans. Only bodies give birth to bodies. So if you're a parent and you and your partner, you're a human being, you and your partner have offspring, those aren't your children. Because we're all spiritual beings, and the being occupying that body didn't come from you. This basic principle of Scientology is what contributes to the devaluation of the family unit and facilitates the Scientology practice of enforced familial disconnection. We're talking about this tonight because of this person, Sonny Jensen. Sonny Jensen is married to David Jensen. David Jensen's father is Craig Jensen. Craig Jensen runs a Scientology company called Disc Keeper. It used to be called Executive Software. David Jensen has been in Scientology forever. I'm amazed the guy is still alive. And he has donated millions upon millions, if not tens of millions of dollars to Scientology. Okay, so Sonny Jensen is the daughter-in-law of Craig Jensen. Sonny Jensen and her husband, David Jensen, met in the Sea Org. They met while they were working as child laborers on billion-year contracts for the human trafficking cult that we call Scientology. Sonny Jensen and David Jensen were able to get out of the Sea Org by getting pregnant and concealing the pregnancy for as long as they could get away with, so that by the time the pregnancy was found out about, it was too late for Scientology to force them to get an abortion. In other words, they were very smart and they got out of the Sea Org one of the easiest ways you can get out of the Sea Org. It's how me and my wife got out of the Sea Org. But Sonny Jensen then had 2 kids who she then turned over to the Sea Org. This is the woman who wants to give you parenting advice. We are going to go through 2 of the videos that she's done. And you let me know what you think about Scientology, the Scientology brand of parenting advice. Okay, so this is Sonny's website, sonnyjensen.com. With over 3 decades of experience as a trained teacher, principal, and educator, I bring a comprehensive understanding of family dynamics to help you overcome challenges and achieve your goals. As a mother who has successfully guided my children to adulthood, I understand the joys and challenges of parenting. My 32-year-long successful marriage also showcases my ability to balance personal and family goals. I want to address something because someone could go, wait a second, Sonny was in the Sea Org and then she left and had a family, so that means that's totally possible to do. Technically, it's possible, but the deck is stacked against you. You are told when you sign the billion-year Sea Org contract and during your tenure as a Sea Org member that if you leave the Sea Org, you are a degraded being. Now, if you leave the Sea Org, and assuming you pay your debt, you pay your freeloader debt, and you do your lower ethics conditions, you are allowed to continue being a Scientologist. It's not like you leave the Sea Org and you're kicked out of Scientology, but you are considered a degraded being. If you join the Sea Org, and if you're considering joining the Sea Org, or you're being recruited for the Sea Org, and say, hey, what if I just I'm in the Sea Org for 10 or 15 years and then I leave and I have a family? Are we all good? Are we gonna is that gonna be okay? They're gonna go, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is a billion-year commitment. Only degraded beings would break that contract. Sunny knows this better than anyone. Sunny and her husband David were put through absolute hell when they were trying to leave the Sea Org in the early 90s because she was having a baby. Now, let me show you something. I'm going to jump around here a little bit. Let me show you how old how old do you think these boys look? This is how old Sunny's boys were when she sent them off to work for the next billion years, doing the exact thing she escaped from about 20 years earlier. Sunny lives here in Clearwater, Florida. One of her boys works in South Africa. Another one of her boys works in Australia. In 2021, Sunny put up a post on her Instagram having visited, she was visiting her oldest boy in South Africa. Her post said she had not seen her son in 2.5 years. And she went to go visit him in South Africa and was allowed to spend 1 day with him. This person wants to give parenting advice. Absolutely unbelievable to me. Okay, so here is Sunny's Instagram. By the way, if you look at her handle here, it's Sunny Jensen CR8. I can understand if you might be confused as to what that means. I can tell you what she thinks it means. She thinks CR8 stands for create. I guess no one pointed out to her that all it stands for is crate. She could have just put an E in there. So it's Sunny Jensen crate. All right, that's fine. I'm being hypercritical here, you guys. Okay, check out this video. Now listen, you guys have been watching some Scientology content for a while. You've probably heard mentioned many times of this idea that in Scientology, being a victim, like victim is a 4-letter word in Scientology. I realize it's not really 4 letters, VICTI, 6 letters, but victim is a 4-letter word in Scientology. It's one of the worst things you can call someone. And when you hear about people in Scientology coming forward with things that have been done to them, you'll hear it said that Scientology's one of their basic principles is you are the cause of anything that ever happens to you. So there's this concept of what did you do to pull it in? You got sexually assaulted? You must have sexually assaulted someone in a past life to pull that in. What part of being sexually assaulted haven't you taken full responsibility for? And we're not even talking about things like how short was that skirt. We're not talking about that kind of victim blaming. We're talking about just literally anything. I don't know. I mean, like literally in Scientology auditing or counseling or interrogation, depending on the type of auditing you're getting. If you have had something horrible happen to you, even like severe forms of sexual assault, your auditing will not focus on what happened to you, trying to help you get over it. Your auditing will focus on what you did to bring that about, even if what you did was in a past life or something like this. With that in mind, check out this video. If I can get it to play. Up. Be nice if I turned on the sound.
I wanted to take a moment and talk about dinner time conversation. So I'm going to give a really bad example. At least I think it's a really bad example.
She's a little long-winded here. She doesn't really get to the point until the end. So just stick with us here.
And if you do this, I'm just going to apologize in advance because I really think it's something that's important. So My husband and I were out to dinner, and there was a family of 5. They were teenagers, older teenagers, and their parents. Well, they were in earshot, and the entire time that we were having this beautiful dinner, they were talking about other people. It was nothing but gossip. It was all about how bad, how wrong, criticizing people's actions, movements, judging them. It was really, really negative. And sometimes, give or take, like, it doesn't have to be that extreme, but you set the tone on what you're talking about. And if you're teaching your children, we don't talk about others, we make them feel better, we are kind, but then in the household, they see something different, they're going to be learning what you do in the household. And what that means is fake front on the outside, criticisms on the inside, and now you're teaching this very social, hi, how are you? Oh, I love how that looks. And it's all fake. Nobody needs that. Nobody wants that. It doesn't contribute towards society. So learn how to talk about the positives. The way to do this is talk about your goals. Talk about what progress you're making on them. How's your day going? How's that idea you had? Oh, you really wanted to create a mouse trap or a bird, make a bird cage, or wow, you're doing that really neat project at school. Talk about that. If your child brings something to the table and it's like, today, Sally picked on me on the playground, and it was so upsetting, and my feelings are hurt. The worst thing you can do right now is go, Sally needs to apologize, and I am going into the school tomorrow, and I'm going to talk to the teachers, and how dare she make you feel this way? Can't tell you how many times I had a parent come into my office like this, and I was like, all right, what'd your kid do to Sally? And when it all came down, there was responsibilities on both ends. No one's a victim. Don't teach your kid how to be a victim. Teach your kid how to be responsible.
Don't teach your kid how to be a victim. Now, of course, on some level, I know what she's talking about, especially since I know where she's coming from a Scientology perspective. But look at the example she gave there. Somebody was bullying the girl on the playground. How is a child telling their parent at dinner that they're upset that they were being bullied on the playground? See, the problem with what she said is highlighted by the example that she gave. She gave an example of a child whose feelings were legitimately hurt about being bullied on the playground. But how are you responsible for that? What did you do to that person? There's always responsibility on both sides. Of course, in life, there's almost always responsibility on both sides. But do you see how it completely minimizing the emotions of a child and the support that a child needs? These concepts don't exist in Scientology, because in Scientology, there is no concept that there is such a thing as a child. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. L. Ron Hubbard literally says, there are no childrens. There are only thetans in small bodies. There are absolutely no safeguards in place or special treatment or special rules for children in Scientology. As soon as children are old enough to be able to read words and write words and possibly understand what L. Ron Hubbard has to say, they are put on the exact same types of courses and the exact same types of training, and they give and receive the exact same types of auditing that adults get. There is the idea of anything being age appropriate is an idea that is completely non-existent in Scientology. Okay, so that's one example of a video. Well, here's another example that really exemplifies one of the core Scientology beliefs, which is put those children to work. All right, let's just see this one.
Do you feel like your child is avoiding responsibilities? Well, you have to ask yourself this question. Did you give them enough responsibilities to begin with? Responsibilities start early. You can have a 2-year-old helping you sweep, a 3-year-old helping you do the dishes. You can have a 4 and 5-year-old doing laundry, 6-year-old cooking dinner. You have so many benchmarks that you can make at a much younger age than people even realize. Giving your kids something challenging to do at a younger age sets them up for wins as they get older. Now, don't expect it to be perfect. Don't expect it to be, a job well done. You're going to have a lot of work to do while they're young. But as they get older, it will be normal for them to have responsibilities. This isn't going to be something you have to introduce to them because this is the usual. Now, what happens if they tell you, hey, mom, this isn't fair because my friend blah, blah, blah doesn't have to do any jobs whatsoever? Well, I'll tell you what I said. Well, that's your friend blah, blah, blah's family, and that's not how we do things here. Trust me, it's going to be way more fair because you're going to be doing so much more. You're going to be so much more able, so much more capable than your friend. Not that we're competing, but the thing is that the more skills you have as you grow up, the more privileges you get. That's what I used with my kids. More skills, more privileges. You want an extended bedtime? Great. What are you going to put in that's going to help the family so that you can get that privilege? Put it together. Skills, responsibilities equal more privileges.
Brilliant. Now, again, the idea of allowing kids to contribute in their own way. Of course, I understand what she's talking about, but also, see, I have to remember that the Scientology indoctrination regarding this, because there's a difference between, kids always want to help. They always want to jump in. There's a difference between letting a child contribute and making him or her feel valued, and you're doing a great job, even if they're not doing a great job, just so that they feel helpful and important. And actually, there's a difference in that and actually demanding it and requiring it. And I can tell you from personal experience, the Scientology bent on that one is to enforce this idea that if you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you're not keeping your exchange in, you're out exchange, you're becoming a criminal. And so, I just feel like a former Scientologist might hear advice being given by a Scientologist and maybe take it a different way, maybe take it a little harsher than someone else might be. But that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do these videos, was to get your guys' take on them. One of the things that really gets me is the hypocrisy. So Sunny's whole brand is #Unbreakable Family. Unbreakable Family. Coming from someone who is in a cult that will enforce the destruction of the family if one of the family members steps out of line and gets out of bad standing with Scientology. Scientology has destroyed almost every family that is involved in Scientology. Almost every family that is in Scientology has had to disconnect from a family member who they otherwise would be happy to stay connected to because of Scientology. #Unbreakable Family. Also, the hypocrisy of some of the things that she said in her first video. First of all, I saw a lot of your comments. Someone needs to teach their kids to mind their own business at dinner. That's very funny. But look, she started talking about, you don't want to teach your kids to put up this fake front. You don't want to teach them that we're one way. We have this social veneer, but in private, we're always talking smack about people. Oh, that's great. That dress looks wonderful on you. And then you say something different when they're out of earshot. Oh my God. If any organization or belief system or cult teaches people how to be fake all of the time, it is Scientology. And, some inside Scientology example, 2 people on OT7. Oh my God, it's so great to see you. I heard you're on the level. How's it going? Oh my God, it's mind blowing. I'm just blowing so much charge in every session. Meanwhile, in private, they're completely bitching about, what do I have to do to finish this level? I can't understand. I heard Mary was allowed to attest to the level. Mary's life is a piece of shit. Why'd they let her attest to the level? I have no idea why I can't attest to the level. and that's only when, and that in that example, that's when Scientologists actually allowed themselves to be critical to other Scientologists, because the truth is, you learn in Scientology that you can't really trust anyone because everyone's constantly snitching on each other, and what you say to a friend in private might get will inevitably eventually get reported to the ethics officer, and then you'll have to get on the cans on the e-meter in an ethics interview, and then you'll be interrogated, and then you'll have to throw other people under the bus. So, oh my God. Just to see a mother. Oh God, no, I got to show you another one here, guys. I got to show you another one here. Here is a more recent photo of her boys. And, good looking boys, good for them. They look happy. I know what it feels like to be in the Sea Org and feel like you're saving the world because you're a brainwashed cult member. I know what that feels like. I don't question that. But look at this. My pride, my joy, my love, I did it all for them. I taught them everything I know. And now they teach me. You did what? All for them. You escaped from the billion-year contract Sea Org slave gig so that you could have two of your own kids, so that you could send them back in to do the same thing you had to escape from. Make no mistake, Sonny didn't just go to her senior in the Sea Org and say, hey, me and Dave, we decided to start a family, so that's what we're gonna do. Wish us luck. No, they intentionally got pregnant. They intentionally didn't tell anyone. They intentionally withheld it because they knew if they told anyone while it was too early on in the pregnancy, they would be forced to get an abortion. This is what she successfully escaped from, and good for her for doing that. And then she sends her kids in to do the exact same thing. I got one more photo for you guys. Both of her boys in the Sea Org are now married to two other Scientology kids whose parents have sent them off to Africa and Australia to work on their billion-year contracts. Look how young these girls look. This photo is from years ago. Look how young these girls look. Look how young the boys look. I mean, the boys as of right now are about, the oldest is 27. The youngest is either, is 25. And this photo here just shows you the Sea organization today is almost exclusively comprised of children of Scientologists who are sending their kids off to work for the rest of their lifetimes for the Sea organization, being told that they are not allowed to have a family of their own. That's actually part of this that kills me the most, is as a parent, you know how you have that feeling, you've experienced it, you know that feeling of having your own kids. Imagine taking your own kids and sending them off to work for an organization that tells them if they have kids of their own, they are degraded beings. It is so freaking disgusting. And so that is why I ask you, would you take parenting advice from a cult member who sent her own kids off to work for the same cult organization that she and her husband escaped from? And I'm talking about the Sea organization as like a sub cult of the Scientology cult. I think it's absolutely disgusting. Okay, I think that's all I have in as far as like screen sharing and stuff. The lovely Barbara, SPTV Tattoo Warrior, is in the back office helping me star some comments. So let's just take a look at some of these. Jess says, sounds like she needs to mind her own business while at dinner. Exactly. Jill Davidson, good to see you. Casey, she doesn't seem to be talking about chores like doing the dishes. She says skills like drywall or electrical. That's a really good point. Constance June. I bet pushing back the bedtime is just because they have to stay up to get the chores all done. So sad. Lynn MCV. Scientology erases your ability to listen to your inner voice. All right. Thank you. Eat more pizza now. Sadly, this isn't the only parent that does this in the cult. Absolutely not. Cutesy J. Did she procreate just to populate the Sea Org? I mean, I really wonder what was going through her head. To be fair, it is very, very likely that when it came time, when the time came that Sea Org recruiters got their hooks into her boys and convinced them to join the Sea Org, it is very, very likely that she was not happy about it. That's part of the thing about being in a cult. You're not allowed to say that you're not happy with it. You can say it, but there's consequences and repercussions. Imagine, let's be a little generous here. Let's say she was very upset that the Sea Org recruiters got their hooks into her boys. And she managed to handle herself on it. Greatest good for the greatest number, all that kind of stuff. What a gut punch it would have been to then find out one of your boys is being shipped off to South Africa. One of your boys is being shipped off to Sydney, Australia. And I don't know, even that serves as an example of how few Scientologists there are in the world. So you're telling me there aren't enough Scientologists on the entire continent of Africa to staff the one and only Sea Org organization that exists in Africa? And the answer is yes. Yes, that is exactly right. There are not enough Scientologists in Africa to staff the only Sea Org organization in South Africa. That is exactly why one of her boys was sent there. And you go, whoa, you're telling me there aren't enough Scientologists in Australia, all of Australia, to staff the only Sea Org organization that exists in Australia? And the answer is yes, that is exactly correct. There are definitely not enough Scientologists in Australia to staff the single and only Sea Org organization in Australia. But honestly, like, just imagine that. That's how little. You want to talk about hashtag unbreakable family? Hashtag unbreakable family? Your fucking family's broken. You don't see your boys for years at a time. You got to go halfway around the world just to say hi. And then when you get a chance, you get to see them for one day. That's insane. Hashtag unbreakable family. Would you take parenting advice, family advice from this person? I wouldn't. Daniel Essig. I guess Aaron Cairo lied to the people making Braille videos for the channel and told them he was in business school for 3 years. Now they're all quitting and the channel is pretty much dead. In email. I'm definitely doing a follow-up on Aaron Cairo and Braille skateboarding. Gabrielle, escaping the cultiverse, it's an honor to give your kids to the cause. I know, and you and I both know, it's supposed to be an honor. Very few parents actually are excited about their kids going to the Sea Org, regardless of what they say. But they do it anyway, and that's what matters. G14 classified. Couldn't her and her husband donate enough money so they didn't have to join? But the thing is, her and her husband aren't the wealthy ones. It's the father that's wealthy. And, you know, even the Feshbach kids, pretty much almost all of them joined the Sea Org. Kurt Feshbach, Matt Feshbach, Joe Feshbach. Before Bob Duggan came along, the Feshbachs were the wealthiest people in Scientology. They were the first people to donate $1 million or more to Scientology. And almost the majority of the children of the three of the Feshbach brothers ended up in the Sea Org at one point in time. And some of them are still there. In fact, Jessica Feshbach is the one who, when Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes were a thing, Jessica is the one who was Katie Holmes's personal auditor and shadow. I don't know if you would call her assistant, but remember those weird instances where Katie Holmes was doing interviews shortly after getting together with Tom Cruise, and you had this young woman like literally doing interviews with her and jumping in to answer questions for her, that was Jessica Feshbach. She was a Sea Org member. She was in the Sea Org when I was there. Farrell Cheryl, good to see you, Cheryl. The only thing my dad wanted for me, was for me to become a Sea Org member. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't mean to let all Scientology parents off the hook. There are some Scientology parents who, even when their kids are young, 4, 5, 6, their vision for their kids is for them to go and join the Sea Org. I know my younger brother, my half brother's father, was like that. My younger brother is Darius DiMartino. His dad is Frank DiMartino, both still in Scientology. And my little brother joined the Sea Org when he was like 14, latest. And he was on the RPF by 15 or 16 years old. He left the Sea Org from the RPF, considered the lowest of degraded beings. And honestly, he's never really been the same since. I think there are other Scientology parents who sort of want their kids to go off and do things, but then once the recruiters get their hooks into them, they're sort of screwed. They really have no way out. Cutesy, I wonder what parenting advice she has for Tom Cruise. That's the best comment of the evening. Yes. Hashtag Unbreakable Family. Except for Tom Cruise, every now and then you gotta sort of never see your daughter again. That's some Scientology parenting advice for you. Abigail, I wonder how the sons are in good standing with their mom out. Wouldn't they be considered PTS? Oh, their mom's not out of Scientology. She's just out of the Sea Org. So no, she would only be considered an SP if she was out of Scientology. Max's mom says, who did she piss off in Scientology to get her kids shipped off to the other side of the planet? I know it's really kind of a big FU. It might have been, it almost depends on when they joined the Sea Org. I know they've been in the Sea Org for at least 5 years, but I don't know how many years earlier than 5 years they might have been in the Sea Org, because it's possible that, the Sea Org base in South Africa, I always get it wrong. It's at the Kalyami Castle. I always pronounce it wrong. Like one of her oldest might have actually been recruited as a part of the effort to even have enough Sea Org members to post in South Africa so that they could pull the ribbon on the new on the org, the new building, the new org. And at that time, I mean, like Scientologists were it was almost like they were convinced that it was an honor to join, to open the new Sea Org base in South Africa. There has always been a continental management unit that is staffed by Sea Org members located in South Africa, but there hasn't always been an advanced org, an org that actually delivers the OT levels, an org where you go and pay money and receive Scientology. There's been orgs in South Africa that deliver the lower non-confidential half of the Scientology bridge, but there was never an advanced org that's staffed by Sea Org members and delivers the upper confidential half of the bridge, which is the OT levels. The South African Advanced Org opened a handful of years ago. Now, as I get older, time starts to fly. So was it 5 years ago? Was it 10 years ago? I don't recall exactly. But it's possible that her oldest didn't just join the Sea Org and get transferred to South Africa. It's possible he was recruited specifically for South Africa. Now, the Sea Org base in Australia has been there forever. So I have no idea why one of her boys ended up in Australia, which is a hell of a lot further away than South Africa. All right, guys, that is all I have on this. This wasn't even one of the videos I wanted to do tonight, but this came across my desk, so to speak, and I decided I had to get this one done. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.